Well, hi everybody, this is Dear Mama Sal, and as you can tell, I am out and about. It is that day where I go and get my very long hair cut into shape again. You know, I should not complain because I know there are a lot of people my age or maybe younger that would give their eye teeth just to have as much hair as I do. So as I said, I never complain about this. It amuses me in some ways. It is, as you can probably tell, raining. And I just passed a St. Bernard. And he's going to smell good and wet when he gets home. There should be, hopefully, lots of beautiful trees in the background today, again. And I'm not sure how much longer we will see them all, because they will, you know, with the amount of rain that we're getting there, probably most of the leaves will fall just from the weight of the rain, but you know, and then we'll have a wind and that'll sort out the rest of them. So enjoy the leaves while you can. For those of you who live in areas where the leaves don't change color, I like to bring you a little bit of my own. I got a request this week from Michelle in upstate New York. And she said to me if there any way that I could talk a little bit about how to cope with the rising cost of everything when your salary isn't rising along with it. In other words, the cost of living is outstripping your salary increases. Or, as in my case, your cost of living is outstripping your pension, or any of those things. Yeah, it's pretty tough stuff to deal with. And I always think about Dom DeLuise, the comedian, who once said it took him a long time to realize that denial was not a river in Egypt. And so if you're in denial of, he was Italian, by the way, with a name like Dom DeLuise. Anyway, so if you're in denial of what it's really costing you, it's very easy to have a lot of problems. So the number one thing is know what you're dealing with. Now, I'm quite horrified at how much it's costing me to live now that I am retired. I thought my costs would go down dramatically, and they haven't. And that's basically because I've been spending money in areas that, you know, setting up, doing certain things. So I have spent money that I didn't expect to. Plus, I had two things that happened that cost me a lot of unexpected money recently. I had a problem with the gas in my house, and then I had the problem with my car. So between the two of those, I spent a lot of money that I wasn't expecting to. So every now and then you get these what I call dramatic crunches that happen. Now, I want to suggest to Michelle that she reads a book called The Wealthy Barber, and I will put a link to it for you, Michelle, because that book really tells you everything you need to know. And I think I'm correct in saying that it was there that I learned the principle of pay yourself first. And what they said there was that take the first 10% of every paycheck and invest it. It doesn't matter if it's $10, invest it. In other words, put it into an IRA, an RRSP in Canada. You know, put it away so that it can accumulate money for you. It then said, I think I've got these figures right, and they might have changed it in the newer versions, but this is what I seem to remember. And it's not easy to do, but it actually saved me at one point in my life, which was, let's say that the money you have left now is $100. Let's say you start with 110. Now let's do it with the hundreds, it's easier. Okay, you start with $100, let's say that's your salary. And then they said, take 10% and invest it in yourself. So that takes $10. You're now left with 90. So what the recommendation is now you take the next 20% and pay bills with it. However slowly you need to, you start paying bills with the 20% that's left, right? You've got 10% invested, you've got 20% that you're going to pay bills with. I don't mean the mortgage, I mean outstanding bills. And if necessary, advise everybody that you're, doing the best you can. But you take what I call the bad debt bills and you pay those off. And that quite honestly includes any credit cards or anything else. Try and get rid of, if you're really having money issues, get rid of your credit cards. For two reasons. Number one, you think it's your money and it isn't. It's their money. And secondly, they charge you a fortune to use it. So the other thing with getting rid of your credit cards is it forces you to live in reality. However, credit card is a good thing to have so that you actually are credit worthy. So a lot of people say, take your credit card, freeze it in water, in something, and keep it in your freezer. So if you ever need it, you can break it out, for credit purposes, but you actually don't have it in your wallet where you can add money to it all the time. Or add more debt to it, as the case is. The other thing is that then leaves you, let's work it out, that it then leaves you, let's say, 3/4 of your paycheck to live on. Now, one of the things that banks always say is there are certain expenses that they are solid. That would be, for example, if you have rent, if you have, the average cost of your hydro bill, electricity bill in the States, we call it hydro in Canada. So heating, lighting, all those sort of things you need those to live. Food and shelter. Food, funnily enough, food is the easiest to cut down on. Not the amount of food, but the type of food. If you're used to eating roast beef and Yorkshire pudding or, whatever, you can live on spaghetti bolognese a couple of days a week, or baked beans on toast. Those things, funnily enough, that's what the banks always reckon. If you've got to save money, do it on your food items, but not necessarily that you buy cheaper food, just buy far less, and be very aware. I think almost everybody that has been in a financial crunch will tell you we buy far more food than we need and we buy the wrong food. So I would recommend that you work a meal plan and literally work it a month ahead. And if you look at, I've watched a lot of frugal videos on YouTube, for example, and I would recommend you do that too. Frugal videos where they actually can feed a family of 5 for a couple of $100 a month. Now the question is, how do they do that? Well, start checking out. But I would recommend, even if you're doing that, make sure that you do spend some money each week getting fresh produce. Even if it's not organic. I keep thinking of Benji when I do that. Even if it's not organic, but do make sure that you, especially if you have children in the house, but also if you don't, make sure that you have some fresh fruit and vegetables. The other thing is I found to save money, buying frozen fruit for my smoothies and things actually saves a lot of money and saves a lot of waste. Because raspberries, for example, it's great to be able to pull some out of the freezer, but you know, how often do you end up having to throw raspberries away because they went past their prime? The other thing that I found out, Michelle, that works really well is if you're on your own, and I'm not sure if you are, but if you are, I found that buying carrots in those little packs that are made for kids to take to school, and celery, if you buy them in those little sealed packs, they last far longer than a couple of, a handful of regular carrots or, a couple of stalks of celery. I'm not quite sure why. The other thing I found is if you're buying peppers, green peppers or red peppers, whatever, I put them in my fridge on paper towels so the paper towel absorbs the moisture. And if I change that paper towel every few days, quite honestly, that one bell pepper will last me a couple of weeks. It's amazing how that happens. Spring onions, if you keep them in water, will last you a couple of weeks, not a couple of days. Just keep changing the water every few days and it'll last you for a couple of weeks because it'll continue to grow. I found, for example, a butter lettuce. If you keep it with some water in its container in the fridge, I can take a couple of leaves off that every day and feed myself, a fresh lettuce, cheese and lettuce sandwich. And that lettuce will last me 2 weeks. It's amazing how I found that out. Then, what else did I find out? Yes, the other one is if you buy romaine lettuce heads. When I say heads, they're normally packed 3 at a time. They will last you a long time. So that's a really good thing. So, first of all, find out where you're spending the money. And, I believe you when you say you're not out partying, you're not out spending a fortune. It's just the cost of doing stuff. Just the cost of just day to day. And I am well aware of that. And I totally agree with you. Part of me goes, should I start growing my hair rather than go and have my hair cut every 5 to 6 weeks? That's a question. Because that would save me quite a bit of money every couple of months. For me, the big ticket items would be obviously things like mortgage. I still have a mortgage on my house, and the running costs of the house. And those are sort of basically pretty static costs. So if you can't get your budget down to fit your day-to-day expenses, then you may need a second job. Or you may need to move to another part of the country where the cost of living is not as great. Now, the reason I say that is I'm pretty sure that upstate New York is not the cheapest area in the States to live. It's a bit like where I live, it's like, really? I think where I live is one of the most expensive places. So, I could, I suppose, downsize and take my money and live in a third world country for the rest of my life. if I wanted to do that. And probably live like a queen. So I think, as in all things, Michelle, have a look at what reality is, and I'm sure that you've cut a lot of costs and so forth. The other thing is, maybe the world has changed so much that you can no longer afford, let's say, a place on your own. Maybe you need to go back to sharing a place with somebody, which is, not the ideal, but it's a good way to cut costs. Even if it's what I call for a temporary amount of time. Maybe, I'm not sure where you live, but maybe you can rent a room out for a year. If you've got stuff in storage, get rid of it. Either find a friend who's got enough room to store it for you, or get rid of it. I'm amazed how many people are spending $100 a month just to store their stuff. I nearly said another word. I've often suggested to people, you might want to get your next apartment with one extra room, just so you can use it as a storage locker. Because if you think about it, most storage lockers are about the size of a 10 by 10 bedroom. So why would you pay somebody else for that? Why wouldn't you just store it at home? It's much more convenient. So the one thing you do know from your experience is you've got to do something. And hoping it's going to change isn't part of that option. Waiting for Prince Charming to come and fix the problem isn't the option. What else can I say to you? All those things, right? However, you don't have to do it all immediately. Start dealing with reality. How much does it really cost you? And what if you actually had a budget? And an intelligent budget includes a line item that says unexpected expenses. For example, I put money away every month so that when my car breaks down, I don't panic. I've already got it sitting in a savings account. Why? I put a little bit of money away every month. Make sense? So it's all about a new discipline, if you like, that you need to do. Now, I want to tell you something, that I'm about to go through the same thing. So you're not alone. I've got to really seriously look at my expenses and decide where I'm going to cut mine pretty darn dramatically. And I am doing that with my grocery bill. I'm getting a lot better. It's been difficult, but I'm getting a lot better. I, for example, am insisting that I start using up the food in my freezers rather than buy new food to eat. All right, I got to get out of here. So, Michelle, I hope I gave you some ideas. I'm certain that the viewers will give you a few more. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for asking the question. And by the way, the rest of you, I'll answer what questions I can. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now. Well, here I am again with a much shorter haircut. And on my way now to go and change the present that I bought for Juliana, which I bought 1 year too small, apparently. So I'm going to go and change that today. little frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, it's part of life. Some people check what size before they purchase. I didn't. I just presumed, and I was wrong. So now I'm going to go back and try and change it. I hope I can. And then also to buy some candy, because in the little boxes I've got for the girls, I'm also going to drop in some Halloween candy. And then I think that side of it is done. Then I've just got to worry about me after that. So it's been a busy sort of day for me today. I got up earlier than usual. But I did do some exercise on the Total Gym, as you heard. That's good. I'm very proud of myself for that. And again, I did manage to get from that prone position where I'm lying down. I did manage to get upright again without you know, doing anything really that looked very awkward or anything. I managed to do that much better than I thought I could already. I thought it would take me about a couple of weeks before I would be comfortable. But obviously just a little bit of exercise helped my back. Go figure, right? I hate that reality, but it's true. But what I was saying today, and I've got to say that when I bought this Total Gym, and it was many years ago, it was at least 20 years ago, probably one of the first ones they made, it was a good investment, because I'll go through periods where I use it and then I don't use it. But you know, the thing is that it functionally is very simple in its mechanics, and you know, it'll always work. You know, it's not some sort of thing that is going to go out of style because, you know, the electronics have changed or whatever. The only difference I think I'd have to say is the original instructions came on a VHS. Do you remember those? Tape thing. And now I guess I would need to look on YouTube to see how to use it. And I guess that's the difference. But the only difference. But if you think about it, I've done it for, sorry about that, get some, I've used it 3 times, 10 minutes at a time, so I've done 30 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes of exercise, and I can already feel the difference in my back. That tells me everything I need to know, but don't particularly want to know. And really, more so than ever, if I can't make 10 minutes for myself in a day, who am I kidding? What sort of world am I living in if I cannot make 10 minutes to lie down and exercise? I don't even have to go out and walk in the rain. Think about that. You know, I don't have to pay a gym. I just have to get on a machine that I know exercises every muscle in my body. It's a, you know, that's what I like about it. It really does do a good all-round thing. And you know, at one point this morning, I actually had my hands above my head, my arms above my head, and held on to the upright of the Total Gym and just let my body stretch. And that's sort of, I can remember as a kid, we used to do that on the jungle gym, you know, when you just hang and stretch your body. And it's just like, my body needs that right now. I'm watching a whole flock of birds heading south already. Wow. That tells us everything we need to know. It's an incredible sight. I just love that V formation. Somebody's messed it up a bit. It's looking a bit like a W formation right at the moment. So I'm off to go and change the present and then do a bit of grocery shopping. Not very much, obviously, because I'm going to be away a little bit. And then I'll catch up with you later in the day. Bye for now. Michelle, here's something else I thoroughly recommend. I picked up this whole pork loin today for $17.53 Canadian. And I want you to see how big this is. Now, if I bought pork chops, that many, it would probably cost me $10. Or if I bought a pork roast, even half of this. But if I buy the whole loin, I can make pork chops, I can make a pork roast, and still have left over to do sweet and sour pork or something else. And if I'm just feeding myself, that's probably enough to keep me going for 6 months of pork. So you just need to buy when you can see the deal. I was amazed that this deal was going on. This just is ideal for me. I'm going to cut it all up. I'm going to put it in the fridge right now, but tomorrow I will cut it all up into different sizes and be very thankful for it later in the month. Well, it's been a busy day, so I'm going to finish the day with half a pork, well actually pork chops, loin chops, and some fresh apple that I'm just sauteing in a little bit of oil, just enough to cover them.